What is up, gamers? Today I want to talk about something we have only briefly covered in a past Skywatch update, that being the Gall language. Now, in case this isn't something you have heard of, in the upcoming game Lost Skies, the devs put out an update in their 16th Skywatch cover, in which they said they were working on a language made by a society in the game known as the Gall. And while there's very little known about the Gall, as well as very tiny amounts of information actually covering their society, which was released publicly, there has been a decent amount of content covering their advanced tech. And from what the devs have made public about their technological advancements, they were dropping very subtle hints as to what the relationships might have been between the Gall people as well as the Cyborians, who we've actually learned a little bit about in the past Skywatch updates. And while I highly recommend you go back and watch that Skywatch cover, I want to quickly recap what the devs have been working on in relation to the Gall language itself, as well as talk about an unknown programmer who's working on a Gall-related digital tool. Nonetheless, the team started their work on this language while basing it off a mixture of Egyptian hieroglyphs and Japanese kanji. Now, personally, I found a very strong interest in the language, and despite my own attempt to fully understand it, I still can only explain the bare minimum way to read it. Now, thankfully, the Lost Skies community isn't comprised of brain-dead people like myself, because as it turns out, there are some people who have gone 10 steps ahead of me, and more specifically, someone who was quite literally single-handedly creating a program that understands how to write any phrase or sentence you want in this language. Now, as to this mystery person of note, he is someone who is quite active in the Lost Skies community Discord, who has a background in coding. He goes by the Discord name Rin, and currently, he is coding with a programming language known as Rust. Now, so far he's managed to set up a lining sequence, as well as many of the complex line shaping for the internal sections of the Gall language glyphs, as you might call them. And while the program itself isn't yet done, I do not personally know this man. I felt that regardless, I absolutely had to share what he was able to accomplish while working off just a few released images from the developers working on Lost Skies, a game that literally isn't even out yet. And this man, this lad, dare I say, is literally building a program that lets you write out full-blown conversations in a language that doesn't even exist. Now, as to its relation in the game, we know that the devs have made it public that there will be a Lost Skies island creator, similar to the game's predecessor, Worlds Adrift. And from this, as well as the past island creator showcases, the islands will likely be made by the community. And I think what this tool could be used for is helping people working on islands and in some ways build their own stories, possibly creating clues using riddles or messages made with these different Gall symbols within the game. And while it's not clear whether or not the devs plan to create an entire language system that allows players to seamlessly make or use Gall symbol-like assets, at the very least, this tool could be used to guide creators who want to make their own thing on how to actually build stories with this writing. Now, if you want to go and help and support Rin, the work he is doing and everything and all that, I will have the link to his Patreon posted in the description, as well as a link to his thread in the Lost Skies Discord, where you can see all the progress he has made in working on this program, as well as the GitHub link to mess around on the program yourself. Like, you could write your will, maybe even numinal ultramicroscopic silico-volcanoconiosis, if you want to. You can have it. Get a big old circle. Now, in going over all this Gall-related stuff, I started to look back at some of the past Skywatches, looking at different points where the Gall-like symbols were shown, while trying my best to figure out what they said. And while I couldn't reasonably make out any of the HUD-related symbols that showed those Gall glyphs, I did see one on the shipyard bubble that we had previously looked at, and doing my absolute best with the symbol table, the only thing this symbol seemed to be was Z. But even that, I'm not sure on, because it's not exactly the same as the lettering for the alphabet table. I mean, it was the most similar one, but likely it could just represent something else entirely, maybe just a whole phrase that hasn't been yet released publicly, or it just uses more of the confusing rule sets for the structure that Rin has been working on. Regardless, if you guys want to learn how to simply read the language symbols yourself and go support the awesome work Rin has done, I will have everything posted in the description. But for now, all you get is Z. Yeah.